shall I start with introduction about yourself? So you are a science instructor, right? Currently.
Yes, so
Okay.
SANS instructor.
And
Um,
could you tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
sure. So 37 years old right now. Have been doing computer security since I was maybe a kid, maybe like 8, 9, or 10. I started, off with DOS back when there wasn't even, kind of a Windows things, and have just always loved computers and always loved kind of security and kind of that, the whole hacking scene. And so I've been doing that, on and off for, quite a while, and have been working professionally in security since 2006. So I graduated from university 2006 and then moved to Japan. And then I'm based in the west side of Japan. And all of the kind of work is in Tokyo. It's very, Tokyo centric, but there's too many people in Tokyo for me. I'm, kind of like more the countryside and a little less people, kind of a more countryside feeling. So I've been based in Kobe, which is in the west side of Japan, and there wasn't really a security community, especially back when I started. So I was being a little proactive, and I started doing all these security kind of, one-day workshops every month or so, and then got people interested in security. And now I have people coming from Tokyo to, because they can't find any kind of decent security workshops, in Tokyo. So they'll travel, 4 hours or so to come to my workshops. And now I can't do them because of, Corona and all this. So I'm doing it online and trying to move to kind of an online way of doing this. But yeah, so I've been based in Japan doing a lot of different things, from penetration testing. I started off with penetration testing and web applications, mobile, Android, iOS, phishing assessments, things like that. And then have also been doing forensics, like the blue team kind of side of things, forensics incident response for the past, 10 years plus here in Japan. All sorts of, thousands of different Japanese companies, many that you've probably heard of, like the Fortune 50 kind of
Right.
big corporations, and then, smaller corporate, companies that you probably haven't heard of. And then now moving into more kind of purple teaming kind of things. So it's just not focused on red or not focused on blue, but, getting people prepared for attacks, and then being able to detect those attacks and to respond as quickly as possible.
So you have been experienced more than a decade, right, in IT securities? Can I
IT
say that?
security, yeah. So more than a decade professionally, and then, more than a couple decades, just studying on my own and things like that.
Yeah, that's scary. A lot of experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how do you feel now? That's the first question.
How do I
How do you
feel
feel so
now?
far?
Uh, yeah, still so much to learn. Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing this for a while, and I've studied, all sorts of things, not just IT, but, like physical security, lock picking, and how to, break into buildings and bypass alarms, and social engineering and wireless, and, all sorts of things that, I try not to just do one topic, but, I'm just so interested in all of the different genres of security. So I've been doing a little bit of everything, but yeah, it's overwhelming. There's just so much to learn, and then once
Right.
you learn something new, the technology gets old and it gets replaced by something else. So
Right.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
and then especially because I've become a father, since 3
Right.
years ago. So it's also very difficult, trying to raise a family and then trying to, be on
Right,
top
right,
of all of the new
right,
techniques and tools and all that.
right,
But
right.
it's fun, I do what I can. I love learning. So, if you love learning, this is a great field because there's always something new to learn,
Right.
every day, all day.
Right, right. So, yeah, so a lot of things to say, but I'll ask question one by one later.
Sure.
But for now, yeah, I would like to start with, there are many people in our country who are doing computer science degree in the university, or some are doing with the certification program and things like that. So
Mhm.
these new students, they try to come to the IT security field, some of
Mhm.
them. So in 2000, now 2021, is it good time to come to the IT security industry? How do you suggest people, those who want to come to the IT security industry? So is it a good time or?
Oh yeah, I think so. IT security is definitely, it's going up. There's a big need for IT security specialists, all around the world. I know in Japan, in the US as well, they probably have the most kind of hackers and security specialists in the US, but still, um, there's plenty of jobs, and once you get a good job, good experience, you'll have job security for life, I think. And it's a well-paid field. And in all of IT, if you don't have your security down and your company gets breached and all of your
Right,
data gets lost, it's kind of like the one of the most important aspects of IT. So make sure that you don't lose all of your critical information, because it's becoming a world so focused on data and intellectual property that once you lose your data and your intellectual property, then it's going to be devastating for your company.
right, right. So for those newcomer, what should you suggest? I mean, what you will suggest? Like, are they start with the certification course, or are they should go to university classes with IT security degree, or what how should they start?
Yeah, so that's a
And
that's a great question. Yeah, if you can get certified, there's a lot of different certifications out there right now. And because it's such a new field, I personally would recommend, studying for, certifications. And, the more technical, the better. The harder, the better. Because a lot of the community or the university courses, they're not up to date. They teach computer science and
right,
things that have been around for a while. And
right,
so especially when I was in university, until 2004 or so, there weren't a lot of
right,
security classes at all. There's maybe one security class in the whole curriculum. And it was, there's still good stuff that I learned, but it was, it's certifications, like things that I've learned from SANS, and things that I've studied on my own have helped me out much more than what I learned in university, actually. So being self-motivated and being able to teach yourself the skills that you need for work, I think is more important than what they'll teach you at university. It's just been my experience.
right, right. Yeah. So certification versus academic. So you prefer more on certification, right?
I would say so, yeah, personally,
Mm,
just because they're very specific on what to learn, and then things that you'll need for your
right.
work.
Right. Yeah, as you mentioned, the career or the industry is so young. So there are
Hmm.
many people giving many advice. Sometimes we go up to the internet or Reddit and then we got confused. Or
Hmm.
the people who are new in the industry got confused. So yeah, yeah, it is good if we give them a precise or straightforward advices. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, in terms of when we see the job for the newcomer in IT security industry, they sometimes they require experience, which the newcomer doesn't have. So in order to get the experience, how do you advise? How should they get the experience without, I mean, before they get a jobs?
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
quite that's quite challenging things, right?
Yeah, that is. So there's a couple methods, one thing would get experience in IT in general, like as an IT administrator. And this will help you, throughout your IT security career as well. So if you want to get into like web security application, penetration testing, but you can't find a job because of experience, you could start off as a developer. And then, once you have that experience as a developer, it will help you in the as a pen tester. And then also, part of the job as a pen tester is to be able to recommend the recommendations and to teach the developers, secure coding and how not to create these vulnerabilities that, in the future. So understanding what it's like to be a developer, will be, very helpful when you're trying to explain to other developers. You'll be able to think like them. You'll know their, problems, and it's not just technical problems, but many times it's kind of political problems, within the companies. So having that kind of experience will be able to, better, make your kind of consulting better. Another
Right.
way, if you want to, dive straight in security, is, do things like CTF,
Right.
is good. If you don't have experience, but if you've been doing CTF since high school, and you're in a group that is a very good CTF group, that's one way to show employers that you're very dedicated and that you're a very talented and technical person. What's better than CTF and I mentioned certificates. What I think is better than certificates is actual experience. And if you can't get that experience through a job, then what you can do now is bug hunting and bug bounties. So in the past, companies wouldn't really pay out money or rewards for finding vulnerabilities, but now this is a great time for the the generation just getting into security, because you have HackerOne, you have BugCrowd, and all of these different bug bounty platforms that you sign up, and then they'll give you a whole list of companies that they let you hack for free. And then if you find a vulnerability, now you can add this to your resume that, hey, I have the experience of finding these vulnerabilities, and you also get paid in the meantime as well. So it's kind of a double win. In the past, the companies wouldn't pay you. So what people would do is they find vulnerabilities in popular software, and then they get, CVEs. And then that's how they kind of brag and get their kind of experience before work and say, hey, look, I found all of these different CVEs. I'm experienced in finding, vulnerabilities and stuff. And then that's, a way to show people, at companies to get them to hire you.
Yeah. So also in IT security, as I know, the community is very important. And I heard that you build a community, or you try to build a community in your city or your town. So any tips or any advice for the people who want to work together, build a community where there's no community before in this industry? So any advice for those people who want to come together, build a community, and
Yeah.
your experience on about challenges you have been passed on, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, there wasn't like any community, in my area when I started around, 2006 or so. So I just started one up, just told people I was going to, rent it out a room or get my company, use the office space. And then at first it was, like 10 people would show up, and then I just every time just created a new topic. So, one time we do, say, hacking, on VLANs and do like network security. And then another time would be web application security, another time forensics, another time, binary exploits and stuff. So I'd always just create a new interesting topic to get people, interested. And then I'd teach for maybe, the morning, like an hour or two, and then tell people like how to get started. And then mostly do kind of a hands-on thing. So it's easier to do a longer kind of security workshop if you have, hands-on. And nowadays there's a whole bunch of different online CTFs that you can kind of use for this. So you don't have to create content, all by yourself. So for example, if it's web application, you could use the OWASP WebGoat project that has all of the vulnerabilities, all there for you. So you have everybody download this, get the VM set up, and then you teach them, like what is SQL injection, what is cross-site scripting, and this is how you find it. And then you give them time and they go through it. And then, just over time, I start off with like 10 people. Now we've grown to almost 1,500 people in this community. And as I said, it's probably, the largest kind of hands-on security community in Japan. And then, now, so I, if on Twitter, I say, hey, I'm doing a security workshop next week, I'll have 300 people sign up within, a half hour or something. So it takes time. I started off 2012 or so I've been almost doing this for a decade. So it will take time, and then every place is different. In the US, if you try to start something off, you'll get a whole bunch of people. When I started, there weren't so many people, and the, security wasn't really a big thing, especially in Western Japan and, in Japan as a whole. But now, almost every day there's like a data breach in Japan, and people are kind of, waking up that, hey, we have to do security right. And I'm not sure, the situation in Myanmar, but I think in every country, it starts off really slow, but you'll be surprised just like how fast things go once, companies and organizations are experiencing these, incidents.
Yeah. Here in Myanmar too, we got many incidents day by day. So and so in summarize, let's your suggestion is start with a small, and then be patient and be consistent.
Yes, exactly. Right. So start small. Persistent. Try to make sure if you can do monthly, that would be the best. Although it is, if you're busy, it's hard to do monthly, but at least once every 2 or 3 months, just be persistent. And then you'll be surprised how much it grows. And it's kind of the best feeling. I have tons of people saying, hey, I'm doing information security because, I went to your, security workshops and I found out how fun it was. And so it's really a good, like sense of achievement. And, it's a really good to be able to inspire other people to get into the field and kind of grow that field that way.
Right. So can you let me know how long you have been teaching with SANS?
SANS, I've been teaching since 2016 or so. So about 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Right. So any tips for the people who try to do, who try to be a teacher in the IT security, or who try to do, online course, or, like be a teacher in general? So how do you start? Why do you start? So that's the first question, I think.
Yeah. So
Uh,
teach. If you want to get good at anything, you just have to do this. So
mm,
anything in any field in security and anything in general, um, there is come some kind of like extreme exceptions. Like if I wanted to be the best basketball player in the world, I probably would never be, like, no matter how motivated I was, or just because. Um, yeah, there are so many other people who are more physically
right, right.
better
Mm,
at that and stuff. But for the most part, especially in security, like if you want to be great at forensics, you just do forensics all day from morning till night. If you study it and um, you you read up about it and you do CTFs and all this, you're gonna get good at it. If you want to be really good at pen testing, just do a lot of pen testing all day long for a couple years, and you'll be good at that. Teaching as well. When I started off, I wasn't a good teacher. um, I wasn't a good public speaker. I'm naturally a very shy person. I just getting in front of like 10 people or so, uh, as I'd get kind of like panicky. My heart
right,
would be beating, like crazy. I'd be, so kind of like timid and scared to talk in front of people.
right.
But I just forced myself to do it. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to get better at this. And, forcing yourself to do stuff that you don't want to do, but you need to do, is also some advice I can give. So, a lot of people, they know they need to do something, but they don't want to do it, and so they just give up, and then they don't really kind of go anywhere. So yeah, just trying to force yourself to advance and make baby steps. And you can take your time. It took me a while to become a
Mm,
better public speaker and to become
right.
a better teacher, but yeah, I think I'm doing it in the end. So yeah, so if you just want to be a teacher, start off how I did, and uh, do these free workshops. So
Right.
all of the workshops, I wasn't taking any money. So if people would complain, be like, okay, I'll give you your money back. And I wasn't
Right.
taking money anyways. So they, if they don't complain, if they complain and they don't like it, then they don't have to come back.
Mm,
But yeah, so doing stuff like that, like kind of volunteer. Now we have to do everything online. So like what you're doing, create free videos on YouTube. That'll help kind of build up your brand, and build up your recognition. And then that's also kind of another way of showing people your experience without having
right.
to work. If you're it's something you can put on your resume and talk to the
Right.
managers and be like, hey, I have all these hundreds of videos, and they have so many page views, and all of these people are checking out these videos. And that's something that hiring managers will definitely notice. And then the other thing is, at the end, always take feedback. And this is something that
Right.
SANS does very thoroughly every day. The participants are taking the SANS training. They have to rate the instructor, rate the course, rate the labs, and then they put in any comments. So after every time you give a talk or you give a workshop, send out online. I use the Google Forms. So I
Right.
create kind of a questionnaire with Google Forms, and then have everybody tell me what they thought of it. And then you'll usually get some advice in the comments, or and then anytime you get something in some advice and something that you can improve on, just make it a little bit better the next time. And then if you just have these gradual improvements over time, you're going to get really good, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in terms of teaching, is there any ice-breaking moment in your life to do that, or it is because of necessary in your career?
um I don't know. I've always kind of looked up to people who are really good at public speaking and other SANS instructors when I first took the SANS. It was very motivational and really inspired me to get into the security field. So I always kind of admire these people and be like, oh, I wanted to want to be like these people. So and then it's kind of giving back. It's like they gave me this great gift of they showed me how exciting and how interesting the world of information security was. So I want to kind of do the same thing for other people.
Yeah. So yeah, the next question is, in terms of CTF, people are now debating about, it is CTS are really worth playing or worth participating, or are they not real, or it just, just some puzzle which no help in the real world, a real penetration test or real red teaming. So yeah, I heard or I saw you have been participating a lot in the CTF events. So could you throw some light on that? What's your reading on that?
Sure. So that's a really good question. So CTFs, not all CTFs are created the same. So as you mentioned, some of the CTFs, they'll kind of teach you the hacker mentality and like doing puzzles and learning the ability to like puzzles and be able to focus and concentrate and try to do a puzzle for hours on an end and be able to figure out something new. This kind of mentality is something that you need kind of as a hacker. So the mentality kind of training in any kind of CTF I think is good. However, as you mentioned, some CTFs are better than others, and so a lot of the SANS CTFs, they have free versions as well. Holiday Hack Challenge, is going on right now with the during Christmas, and this is meant to be kind of like a half like fun CTF and then half help you out for work. So if you're looking for just 100% stuff that will help you out for work, some of the other like the SANS Net Wars CTFs are kind of like a more paid thing, so it might be kind of too expensive for a lot of people. Metasploit I think just had a CTF come out that might be good for penetration testing.
Right.
There's other ones like SOCX. There's kind of like blue team CTFs that are coming out, which are really interesting. And there's a really good like a differ incident response kind of CTF where you have to solve the problems like very fast, just like it was an incident response. And so there are CTFs out there that are will help you out for work and will teach you kind of the skills you need for work. So you need to kind of choose what CTFs you do, because everybody has limited amount of time. So if you're not going to be doing exploit development and stuff, then I wouldn't spend your time doing CTFs with all these pwn problems and learning about how to remotely exploit vulnerabilities that are kind of artificially made, unless you want to go down that route. So yeah, now another advice I could give is that security, there's so many different fields that it's good to have a little bit of knowledge in all of the different fields, but you want to become kind of a specialist in one or maybe two fields, because you can't be a specialist in everything. There's just too much going on. So the sooner you figure out what you like and what you want to be a specialist in, then that's what you should focus kind of all your time in. It'll also depend on what jobs you can get, because not even if you love malware analysis or, something, if you don't have, a job that you can do the malware analysis, then, it'll be kind of
Right.
difficult.
Right.
But thankfully, everything's coming, more kind of international. So even if there isn't, a job for malware analysis down the
Right.
street, you
Right.
can get a job and do teleworking, remote working
Right.
from home, and
Right.
hopefully get a job at, a company, in another country.
Right. Right.
But yeah, CTFs are kind of, I see them as, kind of lifting weights and doing, getting stronger.
Right.
But just because, like you're really strong and you can lift, so much weights, it doesn't mean that you're a really good basketball player, or you can do rock climbing, or, any
Right.
kind of sports. It'll make you better at sports in general than somebody who's, never exercised, in their life.
Right.
So it will, I think, help you out a little bit. But if you want to get good at basketball, then do a lot of basketball, and do
Right.
CTFs as kind of like a, an optional kind of thing to, help,
Right.
boost you.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
So yeah, in general, we can say CTF are good, but before we go to the CTF, we have to do some homework,
Yeah.
whether it is matched with our interest and
Hmm.
right. So yeah, for me, I go many CTF because of not want to do deep on the technical thing, but for the community to meet with the people.
Hmm.
Whenever we go to the CTF, we can meet with the people.
Hmm.
We can get some contact, and we can know the people who are doing same thing with us and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, mm, yeah,
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 definitely. Now, and you can still do it online. Like, I know a lot of people who, meet up and, um, make friends,
right,
other hacker friends online through CTFs.
right,
So
right,
yeah, as you mentioned, that's the other kind of plus side of CTFs and joining a team, is that you
mm,
can, make other contacts, and um,
right,
making
right,
connections and contacts with people is also, something very necessary to do.
right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, as you mentioned, yeah, in IT security, there are many topics, many fields, many subfields, and also now you said you are a father, you have a family, you have a
Mhm.
family to support. So there are many things to do as well as we have something in our personal. So, how to be a more productive person, how to do time management, how to,
Mhm.
learn all these things in IT
Yeah.
security without compromising our personal life. So,
Mhm.
any advice based on your experience?
Yeah, so that's a really good question as well. Um, it's very hard to, it's getting harder, I think, to do kind of deep work or like really concentrated work, especially um, with all the social media and, the things
Right,
going on, in the world and such. So, if possible, and, this is not just my advice, but, a lot of, people are doing now, is they're dedicating, a whole different computer just for, browsing the web and social media and checking out the news. And uh, so I would recommend, don't use Twitter on your phone, don't use Facebook and all this stuff. Like, don't keep it on your phone, because, people, you get addicted to that. And then once you're constantly, checking your phone or checking, any kind of site, then you get distracted and you kind of lose
right,
that concentration.
right,
So I would recommend, like when you're working, try to focus 100%, on your work, and then allocate times for emails and, Twitter and Facebook and checking messages and things like that. So I try to batch times, allocate times for, that. And then I have it on my phone so that, even if I get, a message or an email, then it, unless it's, it's like an emergency, I don't want to um, get uh, as much alerts as possible. Because once you get an alert and you start checking that, then you get distracted, and then you can't do that kind of concentrated work, which is really necessary. So if you can't, try to, when you're learning a new topic, try to find a room that has, as less stuff as possible so that you don't get distracted, and then just say, okay, I'm going to allocate 30 minutes and I'm just going to read this book and I'm not going to do anything else. And then try to increase that time over time. So start off something that you can do. So start off 20 minutes, I'm going to study this new topic, and then do that every day for a week. And then, okay, this week I'm going to do 30 minutes, and then increase it to like an hour or so. But make sure that you don't do anything else during that time. You focus, create that kind of sharp focus, sharp concentration, and try to not be distracted as much as possible. And then always and then take breaks. So some people, they sit down on the computer and they're like, they just go on forever. And this is something that I've done in the past as well. And then I realized like I wasn't taking any breaks, so I would be on the computer for hours and hours, and then I'd just be so exhausted afterwards. So I try to do now, I have an application that tells me to take a break because I forget. So I'll do an hour of work and then it says take a break for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And so I'll get up and I'll, stretch and, take a walk, if it's a nice day outside, and get some, take a walk, get some sunshine, get some vitamin D, and then I'll come back and then do another, an hour of concentrated work. And so things like that. Oh, your mic's off, I think.
Yeah. So the next question will be, any advice for the people who are doing job hunting in IT security?
So job hunting.
Yeah, general tips.
Yeah. So we mentioned before, knowing people is very good. Some of the best jobs are all kind of word of mouth, and once you make enough connections, you don't have to even create a resume, because you know all these different people, and then if I wanted to switch jobs or something, they just say, yeah, come over. So creating connections, knowing people in your community is really important, I think. So go to as many conferences as possible, as many kind of get-togethers in your community as possible. And then, some of the best jobs are, jobs that you find through the contacts that you meet there. Also, building up experience at work. If you're currently working in the field, if you haven't, if you haven't had any work experience yet, then, do things like CTF that we mentioned, and then also bug hunting if you want to do more of the penetration testing kind of stuff. So go through like HackerOne and BugCrowd, and try to find vulnerabilities on your own. And even if you can't find it at find vulnerabilities at first, they have all of the write-ups of all of the previous bugs there, so you can see and discover how other hackers were able to find these vulnerabilities. And then if you do the same things, then hopefully you can find kind of similar vulnerabilities. So building up kind of real world experience that way. And then if you get really good at it, then you don't even need to find a job. You can make money through being a bug hunter, which I know, some people go that route.
Right.
But yeah, and then also try to, do what you're doing, try to teach, try to give back to the community. So security is not just technical skills. It's only half technical skills. And then the other half is kind of social skills and soft skills. So yeah, so learning how to do public speaking, how to articulate what you want to say, how to teach others, how to
Right.
understand, political issues, because
Right. Right.
even if you do a penetration test and tell them this is you have to fix this, there could be political issues kind
Right.
of at that human
Right.
level that you have to kind of figure out. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah. And for the newcomer, when they see to the IT security, there are so many things.
Hmm.
Sometimes they are overwhelmed with these suggestions, these topics, this field.
Hmm.
So how do you suggest to them? Because whether they should go start with the red team or blue team, or start with the blue team and red team,
Hmm.
and if they want to go to the management type of jobs, I mean, there are many things. So how do you advise for the newcomers?
um so yeah, you have to kind of really understand yourself. There's an interesting site called 16personalities.com, I think.
Okay.
um so you go through, maybe spend 20 minutes filling out these questions, and then it'll tell you kind of what kind of personality type you are. And I wish I did this a long time ago. um it's only been kind of recently, maybe 5 years ago, that I uh, have been kind of studying about personalities, and then like what things motivate me. So understanding what kind of personality you have and what your strengths and weaknesses are, I think is really good. Um, so my personality is, according to the site, is kind of a campaigner. So and I was naturally doing this, kind of subconsciously. It's a person who says, hey, there's something, let's go on this journey, or let's check out this new thing, it's really interesting. So I get a bunch of people together, and then we can go on these fun journeys, or things like that. And so that's what I've been kind of doing, without realizing, through my community work and these security workshops that I've been doing. I gather a whole bunch of people together, and then we do forensics for a day, or we do penetration testing for a day, and people really enjoy that. And that's something I think I've been naturally good at, just because my personality happens to be that.
Right.
So I'm spending more time doing that, and then making it not just part of giving back to the community, and doing it as purely volunteer, but also having it tie into kind of like the business side. And then so having a half model where half the stuff is free, and then if you want to do more kind of serious training, then that's kind of what I do at SANS. And then so that way I can kind of do the same kind of things that I'm good at, and then do one for free and help out the community, and give back to the community, and then one I can make money to pay the rent and
Yeah.
stuff for my child and stuff. So I would recommend finding out what your personality type is, finding out what your strengths and weaknesses are. So there's no like best personality. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. So if you're bad at something, you could try to get good at it, but you'll just get kind of incremental improvements over time. But if you do stuff that you're naturally good at, then you'll get kind of that exponential growth. So I think it's kind of smarter to use your strengths, and then anything that you're weak at, find somebody that is good at that, and then have them do that.
Yeah.
And then find out, what your what motivates you. Are you internally motivated, or are you exteriorly motivated? So I'm kind of a more, motivated from external, kind of things. So that's why I try to work in groups, because, if I'm just working on my own, then, if I get frustrated or like, I lose motivation, then I'll just quit what I'm doing. But if I'm working as a group, then I get that, kind of motivation and that energy from other people. And then I want to, make sure I do a good job. And it gives me that kind of pressure to kind of bring out my, full potential. So yeah, I definitely, consider that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that's all from my side. That's all
Okay.
the question. So is there any advice or any tips from your side for the people who are start doing ID security, and the people who are already in the ID security and want to get more advice?
Um, yeah, just what we've talked about, create contacts, try to, create kind of a brand, for yourself, try to, be known within your community. So, do things like social media, like Twitter, create a blog is also a very good thing. So anytime you learn something new and you think it might help somebody else, write it up in a blog. And then being able to write is also a very important skill for security. So being spend some time learning how to write, create documents in your blog that other people can follow and learn from, will help other people out. And then a lot of times there's so much going on, you're going to forget what you did. So I forget a lot of the stuff I do. So if I don't write it down, then I'll forget it. So if you just write it into a blog, then not only are you helping yourself, but you're helping everybody else in the world. So yeah, so that's something I would recommend. Create contacts, do social media, give back to the community. If you like developing tools, create some tools that will help people out.
Right.
This is also good for finding a job. I think, I would consider creating, an open source tool that helps people out, kind of similar to work experience.
Right.
So if I had to choose from, one person who had, security certifications, but then, another person who's, been doing workshops or, has a blog or has, been writing tools, then I would definitely, go for the latter.
Right.
And then, yeah, you got to put in the hours. So when I started, I spent years, from, wake up really early and then just stay in a room, and then I just be on the computer all day until, night. And then, they say if you want to master something, you have to put in, 10,000 hours in that certain field. And because security has so many, different fields, you got to put in a lot of hours to be able to master, all these different things. So it will take time. You will have to, put in the hours of study. But, try to enjoy it is the other advice I could give. So, if you naturally, love this, this is, it worked out for me. I just love Japan, and I love security. So I'd be doing this, for free, just, as a hobby. And it was just, coincidence that I was able to kind of do this for work as well. So find people who also love security and then, pair up with them, do things together. It's always more fun to do things in groups and, create, fun things to do. Create CTF problems, have other people, try those problems would also be something interesting to do. Yeah, so just, find out how you can make, security fun for you and something enjoyable that you will want to do this, outside of work as well. So a lot of the people who succeed in this field, they don't just do it from 9 to 5, during work, and then afterwards they just, do something else. I'm doing this, as a hobby as well, outside of work, but, it's fun for me. It's a hobby for me. So, it doesn't seem like work. What else can I give? Also, yeah, maintain a balance in your life. So, I mentioned, spending a lot of hours, in front of a computer. However, you don't want to burn out. This is something I also see in kind of newcomers. They get overwhelmed, and then they try their best, and they overwork themselves, and then they give up. And so you do need a balance. You do need to, exercise, keep your body physically fit, because if you're not physically in good condition, you're not going to be able to, do your work and, be good mentally. So this year I was doing some incident response for, like a big incident, and it was maybe 2 months I was on the computer. I didn't leave the house, and I noticed my neck started hurting. I couldn't move my neck more than a little bit before it started, hurting. And I noticed that my health was really deteriorating. So after that, I really decided to make sure, I do swimming, a couple times a week. And so any kind of swimming or running or any kind of sports, I would definitely recommend that as well, just to make sure that you're, physically fit. Now Twitter has the like red team fit and like blue team fit hashtags. A lot of people are, showing their progress about how they're getting physically fit. You may have seen on Twitter recently. That's kind of a big thing.
Right.
But yeah, so you do have to spend a lot of time in front of the computer, but also spend a lot of time networking, meeting new people, kind of doing the analog hacking as well.
Yes. Yeah. Also, other people say, like, this field, you cannot be complacent. You cannot be easygoing, because
Yeah.
every day new things coming up. We have to adapt new things, things like that. And also the field is so young, so sometimes you may got chaos in your planning and all these things. So we have to be emotionally, capable of, getting these things. And yeah, so right. So
Definitely. Yeah. So yeah, you have to be very adaptable, very flexible, always, earn to, be eager to learn more.
right.
Yeah. And then just accept that, yeah, you won't be able to master everything. There's too much to learn. There's too much to do. Don't discouraged, if you see somebody is really great and, can do a whole bunch of things. Everybody has things that they're good at, and no one can be a master at, everything. So I know a lot of, famous people have been doing security for decades. They're, amazing, in some areas, but then I see them in other areas, and and they're not good at all. So yeah, I've never once, seen a person that is, amazing at absolutely everything. So yeah, so don't get frustrated or disappointed if you are not, a god at everything, because you do what you can, enjoy the field, make friends, and then, yeah, if you enjoy the field, if you have friends that are doing it, and then you just do it consistently, you're going to get good at it. And
Right.
you most likely will, get a good job and have a good life.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, also I think this is the last question. is there any updating or the latest thing you have come across in IT security, whether it's from the red team or blue team, or is there anything you are doing now and wishes you want to share with other people, which is what watching or checking?
Yeah, so I guess the kind of latest thing is, all of the different genres kind of blend together. So, if you are a blue team person, kind of understanding the red team mentality and how the red team, breaks into organizations and stuff will help you out. And then if you're a red team person, understanding as much as you can about the blue team and their problems and their troubles will also, help you out. So I think the kind of future is not just focusing pure on red or pure on blue, but this whole kind of purple teaming and kind of understanding a little bit of both worlds is kind of where the direction where security is going.
Okay.
But easier said than done.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's all for the today question. So thank you very much for answering all these questions.
No, thank you so much for this interview. It was really fun.